This is the Daily Wrestling News for January 28th, 2021. My name is Ryan Joy, and I am coming to you live from Minutes to Bell Time Studios on the beautiful Treasure Coast of the Sunshine State. And I am joined today by the senior NXT correspondent to the Essential Wrestling Podcast, Mr. John Smith. John, what's going on today?
Not much today, man. Yesterday was a big day for me. It was the 28th anniversary of the passing of Andre the Giant, my all-time favorite. And the business would not be the same if he never existed. So I just wanted to give him a little shout out.
Absolutely, and I see you're wearing a shirt. If I could turn my camera, which I cannot, I have Andre the Giant on my wall here, life-size fat head. He is the official bouncer of Minutes to Bell Time Studios. I will at some point get my setup so that I can rotate it on the office, and we can see that view. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I bet, man.
Did you hear about John Cena being in a coma?
No.
He woke up, and then he asked the nurse, he was like, where am I? And she said, ICU. And he said, no, you don't.
Wow. How long's that been in your back pocket?
About 10 minutes. I saw it on I saw it on Twitter this morning, and I was like, I gotta figure out a way to turn that into a something for the show. So pretty pathetic, but thought
a cheap laugh is still a laugh.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny in that one though. You're almost laughing more at the attempt at humor than you are at the humor. But
either way,
Al Carl says there will be no survivors.
There will be no survivors.
That worked out perfect. That I put the GIF up as you said that. All right. So in terms of the show today, we have the ridiculously random non-wrestling audience needs to know you better question of the day. We have NXT and Dynamite to run through. We have a new segment I'm going to call Florida Wrestling. And basically that's the news, but it's all about Florida wrestling today. So stay tuned for that toward the end of the show. And then we got trivia. And John, let me just scroll down here. You accurately predicted that it would be a Royal Rumble trivia day, as it is that week. And we're looking at 2017.
Okay.
So it's a fairly recent one.
It's not one of the ones I watched recently, actually. So
oh, no. John has been studying, trying to get himself ready for trivia. And
I went with mid 2000s to like the mid teens.
Yeah. Well, let's see how you do. All right, let's get the show on the road. The ridiculously random non-wrestling audience needs to know you better question of the day is brought to you by Pro Wrestling Pick'em, a place where you can join or host a Pick'em league to test your predictive skills in the world of pro wrestling. Create an account and join a league now at ProWrestlingPick'em.com so you can play against your friends or play against the universe. And John, we have a big weekend coming up with Pro Wrestling Pick'em. There are a lot of points on the line. And I didn't give you a heads up on this, but if I were to nail you, put a gun to your head right now and say, who's winning that Royal Rumble? You would say
Sheamus.
Okay. Not Daniel Bryan, as he's featured on my shirt today?
No, and I don't particularly think that Sheamus is going to end up being my pick on our show on Saturday, but he was the first one that came to mind. I think he's got a great chance at winning it. I know that Al Carl doesn't like that because he doesn't think that Sheamus deserves to be a two-time Rumble winner with all the names that have won the Rumble twice, but I say Batista's on that list, so anybody can be.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, well, your random question for the day is if you had to live someplace other than New Jersey, does any place come to mind?
The first place that came to mind was Australia. It's beautiful there. I dig the accent. I use an Australian accent on my GPS in the car. And they speak English, and I don't have it in me to go ahead and learn another language. I mean, I could get by on some Spanish, but it's mostly restaurant Spanish, so I don't know how accurate it would be in real life situations.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I'm living in Florida. If I had to live someplace else, I'd want it to be Hawaii. I don't know if I could swing that, but I am actively trying to learn Spanish this year. I took French in high school, so I never took any language after that. But I am trying to learn Spanish because I want to be able to watch Lucha Libre. I think I've talked about that on the show before, but we'll see. We'll see. So far, I know gato is cat.
Maybe you can go ahead and turn on the SAP button whenever you watch wrestling.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to watch WrestleMania 36 today. Rewatch that. Maybe I'll watch it in Spanish.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's talk about last night's wrestling, and we'll start with NXT because I think that's the show that you popped more for last night. Correct?
Yeah, definitely. Especially because I couldn't even tune into the other show. There was something wrong with the feed, and then my DVR was the same way. So I saw some of the Twitter highlights, but I wasn't able to catch the whole show, unfortunately.
Yeah, a lot of people. I think if you had Dish, you're okay, and if you had some other service provider, you're okay. But most people who had cable had issues with Dynamite last night. I had issues with everything from about 8 to 8:30. It was weird because it just everything. Like almost as soon as it turned 8, like the feed went to crap and it didn't come back until 8:30. So I had to switch over to watch stuff in the app. So, but I did get through all of NXT. I was able to watch everything except for the first match, which was MSK defeating Killian Dane and Drake Maverick. Again, I didn't see the match. I don't even know how it ended, John. Do you have a note on that?
The note I have here is it was a pretty standard match. It was longer. It was 12, 13 minutes, something like that. But nothing too crazy. The team that we thought was going to win won, and there was some sort of crazy moonsault combo that they did that I can't even describe. But if you go back and watch it, they did some really cool stuff, man. Oh yeah, it was he did not a moonsault, like a standing shooting star press, and the other guy pushed him, and he landed on him. I've never seen that. Maybe that's something that they've done in Impact, but I've never seen that. That was really cool.
Yeah, I never saw that before they came to NXT. I think they did that in the last match, but it's a really impressive move either way.
Yeah, it must have escaped me. I must have been looking away real quick last week then.
Taking a note on the thing that they did before that. But is MSK, you think, are they a favorite to make it to the finals?
I think so. Now that the way that they pushed them and the way they beat Drake and Dane yesterday, I don't see them losing to Legado. And I think Legado is going to beat the Lucha House Party, but I don't see MSK losing to them. Maybe Karrion Kross gets involved in that the same way he looks like he might be getting involved in other things.
Right. A lot of power left in the Dusty Cup when you consider you've got Ciampa and Thatcher, and then you got the Undisputed Era still in there. So it's like you've got main event talent, not just tag team talent in this thing.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough match to call too. UE versus Thatcher and Ciampa.
I kind of love this dichotomy of Ciampa and Thatcher actually working. If they team up and stay together, I think that's a really fun team.
I'd like to see somebody make a meme of them as the stepbrothers. Did we just become best friends? John Stamos.
Well, so that happened later in the show. It was just a promo. They obviously have Undisputed Era next week, but Ciampa basically said, there's some fights you don't forget. There's some fights that you come out with respect. And Thatcher's like, the fight pit changes people, and it changed us. And I accepted. Ciampa earned my respect, and that's why I said yes to the question. So they'll be married on next week's episode. So
Matt Riddle lost his first name in the fight pit.
Yeah, that's it changes you.
It's like the lake of reincarnation.
And then Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, they got the win over Aaliyah and Jessica Maya. No big surprise there, but then also, I think we had a surprise last week in the Dusty Cup on the female side. So, but Dakota and Raquel advance. They look to me like the favorites for this thing, and I wouldn't have said that before because I was kind of thinking Raquel was in the main title picture with the EO, but that's clearly not the case anymore either. So.
Yeah, I guess they're holding off on that. Maybe Io gets one more win before Gonzalez takes it from her. If Gonzalez takes it from her, it looks like they're setting up for a 3-way on that. But the what's the name? Aaliyah and Jessica Kamea, they barely got any offense in this match. It was just all Dakota and Gonzalez, and I mean they're fighting Caden and what's her face next week,
Casey.
right? Casey and Caden. So I mean they're a dark horse to win it all, but my pick's been Ember and Shotzi from the start, so I'm sticking with them.
Okay. I really like that choke slam from Raquel, by the way. It's very impressive.
Yeah,
it looks brutal, and it's I guess it's better when she's in there with somebody that's kind of small, like.
And even if you don't want to take that move, you're taking that move.
Just ask Nia Jax. Al is putting in his words for Casey to win the tournament. She does have a partner. Let's not forget Casey and Caden. Okay, so then Tyler Rust, he got back on the horse, got a win over Rios. Rios did not have a nameplate graphic to start the match or anything, but he did. Tyler Rust used the double Fujiwara, kind of similar to Venus de Milo from Diana.
Yeah, it was almost like they were actively trying not to tell us the name of Inaction in this match. Because I think I heard them say his name once, but I didn't rewind it to listen to it again. So I just had it down as Inaction.
So I heard Vic Josephs and Beth Phoenix refer to him as Rios, and then I actually rewound it back to the beginning of the match and just studied it to see if they put a graphic up. No graphic, so that's Rios. I believe the spelling would be Rios, but who knows?
Yeah. Grizzled
young veterans used the ticket to Mayhem to punch their ticket past Kushida and Leon Ruff. Kushida, I mean, I think that we all called that. I mean, we all have grizzled young veterans in the finals, I think. And we think Kushida is probably lining up against Gargano. That looked obvious based on everything we saw with Gargano doing the attack after the match. But Dexter Lumis has also inserted himself into this equation. And it looks like Austin Theory might be his next victim, John.
Yeah, he was lurking behind them in their backstage promo, too. After they walked away, he popped out of the curtain. And then at the end of their match, he got himself not so much involved, but he just scared the crap out of them and made them stop doing what they were doing. And they left the arena themselves.
I know. I kind of wrote in my notes. That Dexter Lumis made the save, but it was kind of he didn't do anything to make the save except be Dexter Lumis and just stare awkwardly at the proceedings. And that was enough.
Yeah, that's all you need to do for now when you're Dexter Lumis. Maybe in 3 years it'll get old, but I love it for now.
Yeah. So the Santos Escobar situation. I'm never really a big fan of when we get told we're going to get a match and then they do angles and things to not give us the match. So I'm not liking that. What I did like though is the passion from William Regal in the backstage area to tell Santos Escobar he will be wrestling Kurt Stallion next week. But then also Santos Escobar found a tarot card, very similar to something Carlett was twirling in her hand earlier in the evening. So that promo last week, we talked about how he took shots at people, and it looks like he's going to be getting some shots taken back.
Yeah, it looks like my wish is going to come true of Santos Escobar moving up towards the main event, because I think Kurt Stallion takes this title from him with the help of Cross next week. Like the Scarlett's promo, it was very cryptic. You know, she was saying, what'd she say? Stay your course or he will alter his, is what she said. So it looks like Karrion Kross is taking a detour on his way to that NXT title, and Legado del Fantasma is that detour, and I cannot wait, because I think they're not going to make it a squash. I think they're going to make it an awesome match eventually.
I'm very hopeful that it's not a squash. Is there any chance that Karrion Kross cuts enough weight to compete for that title?
Absolutely not. But that title will be on Stallion after next week, I think, anyway.
Kross would be emaciated to make that weight, I think.
Yeah.
So yes, we do get Santos Escobar versus Kurt Stallion next week, but Killer Cross or Karrion Cross is going to be looming in the background. And then the other backstage promo thing that we saw last night was Imperium. It looks like, they made a big deal about Wolf rejoining the fold on the stateside version. A lot of imagery of Walter in this little pre-taped video package promo. It looks like Imperium's coming back to full force. I don't know if that means Walter's coming over or not, though.
I would hope so. They teased it, so I don't see why they wouldn't be doing it. I know Walter likes to stay overseas and be in the UK so he can be close to home, but we want him over here, so we might be getting him.
Well, the trouble right now is COVID, right? I'm sure Walter would have been here for a program or two, but COVID is making that travel very difficult. But maybe they figured that out, and maybe Walter and Devlin come over for a Worlds Collide show, and then they go back. All they got to do is tape more episodes of UK so they can make that work.
Right.
The women's championship angle. Toni Storm came out to do a promo. Mercedes Martinez came out. Io Shirai came out. Big brawl. At the end of the proceedings, though, Toni Storm stood tall with the championship. So it looks to me like the immediate path is Toni Storm and Io Shirai. Maybe a three-way like you mentioned earlier. But
I'm thinking it's a three-way because Toni Storm took a couple shots at Martinez in the process. Not only was she like trying to hog the beat up of Io, but then eventually she dragged Martinez out of the ring and shoved her against the apron, the hardest part of the ring.
Yeah.
So,
Now, the interesting thing is that AEW has Beach Break next week. And NXT hasn't really put a huge lineup. They've announced a couple of things. But it seems to me like maybe one of the things that they'll do is one of these championship matches, or maybe Toni versus Mercedes to determine a challenger, something like that, because they really haven't put up a good lineup to go against Beach Break.
Yeah, we're gonna get a bunch of Dusty Cup matches, and then you got the Cruiserweight title, so maybe that'll main event it.
Al says Toni Storm was looking good with the title. I think they waited a very long time to pull the trigger on Toni Storm, and I think they need to do it soon. And I do think Io Shirai she's probably main roster material here pretty quick, so maybe they need to get the title off her.
Yeah, Toni Storm looks good whether she's holding the title or not, man.
Bronson Reed got a win with the Tsunami Splash over Isaiah Swerve Scott. Swerve had a big promo beforehand, but it was very weird and awkward. I didn't really understand it, but he went out there and got beat by Bronson Reed, and I think that's the story.
Well, when you point at somebody, you got three fingers pointing right back at you. That was what he was saying. He's like, point your finger at me. Oh, how many are pointing at you? The other three,
Gotcha. I did not make that connection.
Yeah, it's like a look in the mirror kind of thing.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, now I understand.
Yeah, where was Bronson Reed's reptile around his shoulders this week?
I don't know.
What was it, like a baby dragon? I'm glad that he got rid of that finally.
We need him in Bam Bam Bigelow attire always, I think. Absolutely.
Because he's got the entrance. I love his entrance. He needs a better outfit. Yeah, definitely. Because I don't need to be seeing his thighs like that. He's not Bashing Booger,
Him and Dave Mastiff from the NXT UK program have a similar entrance where they walk out and the ground shakes and things like that. But in the main event, Kyle O'Reilly got a submission win using a heel hook. So O'Reilly and Balor won the match. And then Pete Dunne arrived. And then the Undisputed Era arrived. And then at the end, Balor he was standing in front of the Undisputed Era. And then he took a step back and stood with the Undisputed Era. And they didn't seem to like that. And then he stood behind the Undisputed Era. I'm not sure what kind of imagery they were going for. If he's going to have them fight for him, or if he's going to fight for them, or he's apparently not going to fight with them.
Yeah, it's weird because there is a fourth, but is Bobby Fish injured or something right now?
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I guess once McAfee's around, they would need a fourth person. But I would rather see 3-on-4 than have Balor just inserted into the Undisputed Era.
Yeah, and we haven't seen McAfee in a while, so who knows? I think that McAfee launched this group, and now Donna owns this group. That's how I like to look at the situation. On the Dynamite side of things, we'll kind of go through this quickly since I know you didn't get to watch it, but Eddie Kingston, he cheated to defeat Lance Archer. I didn't see Lance Archer taking an L here. I thought he would win this and kind of continue his build. Jake Roberts, unfortunately, got beat up by the Butcher and the Blade, and that's what caused a distraction, which led to Brass Knucks, which then led to Eddie Kingston getting the win.
Yeah, I wasn't too pleased with the outcome of this, but I guess Butcher and Blade got involved, so it's not really that big a deal.
Yeah. John Moxley says there's always drama with the Elite, that's for sure. But he likes a good six-man, and so it'll be him and Pac and Phoenix at Beach Break. So Sting and Darby Allin, they admit to being hoodlums. Team Taz showed they were hoodlums and beat up the merch people. So those are pretty good. I mean, the Sting and Darby Allin one was a little weird, but the Team Taz one I liked a lot. So
yeah, I saw both of those on Twitter. I mean, the Taz one was good, but you'd think that after 35 years in the business, Sting could cut a better promo than that,
Well, yeah, it wasn't very good.
It was as if he didn't know what he wanted to say.
Yeah, better luck next time, I guess.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho hit the Judas effect on Griff Garrison and then followed up with a Lion Salt. So he won their tag match. It was MJF and Chris Jericho versus the Varsity Blondes. Jericho won a match with the Lion Salt, and that's something we haven't seen since WCW. I mean, I'm probably exaggerating, but it's been a long time since he used that as his finisher.
Yeah, he was using it in WWF at some point, but then he's transitioned to the Code Breaker.
The Lion Tamer, and Judas Effect.
Right.
Cody Rhodes, it appears that he is going to be teaming with Red Velvet to face Shaq and Jade at Revolution. They did a big, long song and dance in the middle of the ring. Arn Anderson took the mic. He introduced Red Velvet. She came down, stirred things up, as she likes to say. And now we have Red Velvet and Cody against Shaq and Jade. It's interesting to me because unless Jade is similar to Pat McAfee in her ability to pick things up, I would have thought they would have put an experienced person on that team to do most of the work. So I was kind of surprised to see it line up this way.
Yeah, maybe it's not going to be that long of a match to begin with.
Yeah. In that situation, do you think that Cody and Red Velvet don't get the W? Do you think Shaq will get a win here?
I would hope so, man. Like for Cody to just bring Shaq in just to beat him, that's very. I mean, it is very Cody Rhodes of him, but I don't think that's the way they're going.
I think Jade pins Red Velvet. And we're 6 weeks away, but I think that's what happens. Hangman Adam Page, he got the win over Ryan Nemeth, but the main story was Matt Hardy's appearance at ringside. He came down to kind of support Page, watch the match, kind of unannounced. Afterwards, Tony Schiavone comes out and says, what's going on, Matt? Matt says, Page, you're a good guy. You need to hear that sometimes. The Elite trashed on you, and then the Dark Order were pursuing you, and that was awkward. He's like, now you're changing in the hallway outside of catering. You can use my locker room. That was the whole gist of the segment. So Tony Schiavone said, I think you should take him up on it. So it must be Tony had an awkward moment in catering or something. But,
yeah, it seems like he's trying to recruit Page, but I think it's going to end up with Page versus Matt Hardy.
Yeah, probably so. Okay, match of the night, I think, for me, across all programs, was Jungle Boy against Dax. I have not seen very many FTR singles matches, and these guys they got a good amount of time, and they traded a ton of near falls. It was a great match. At the end, Luchasaurus, the gimmick for this match was Luchasaurus was handcuffed to both Cash and Tully Blanchard. So after Jungle Boy got the submission win using the what's it called, the snare trap, Cash and Tully got released. They Fuji'd Luchasaurus, jumped in the ring. Eventually, they handcuffed Luchasaurus to the ropes and cut off his horns right before. And then they turn to Jungle Boy, and they're about to cut Jungle Boy's hair when the locker room empties. Like, you can cut Luchasaurus's horns, but don't touch that hair on Jungle Boy. So,
yeah, those are some glorious locks on Jungle Boy.
Yeah. It's one of those, if you take that away from Jungle Boy, it kind of ruins the gimmick a little bit. So when he turns heel in 10 years, that'll be what he does. He cuts the hair.
Yeah.
Luchadorus got Fuji'd, according to John DeConnie.
That's how you say it in Spanish. That's your first Spanish word of the day for you, luchadores.
I would have, that makes sense because luchador, I'm on board. Luchadorus. Britt Baker got another submission victory, so second submission on the show. She beat Shanna, which ultimately just led to a fight between her and Thunder to set, to further program and set up the Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker match next week. Sammy Guevara and MJF bickered backstage. Sammy Guevara, I don't think is long for the Inner Circle. If the Inner Circle is long for this world, Sammy Guevara, I don't think is long for that group. I wouldn't be surprised if that's our Revolution match, Guevara versus MJF. But
that'd be a good match.
What's that?
I was just saying that would be a good match.
I think so. Yeah. It's a contrast of styles. MJF doesn't really leave his feet that much. Sammy flies a lot. Last year, it was Sammy versus Darby at Revolution. And that match, most of it took place before the bell rang. Darby came down the ring. He immediately ran across the ring and dove out. He puts the Suicida in Tope Suicida. And then they wrestled for about 10 minutes on the outside. Sammy Guevara hit a 450 off the top rope through a table onto Darby. And then the bell finally rang. The match went about 2 minutes, and then it was over. It was a hot start to that affair. So Sammy Guevara doesn't have a good win-loss record at Revolution, but he has a good showing. The Good Brothers and the Young Bucks defeated the Dark Order in the main event. Stu Grayson took the pin, which is, of all things, surprised me. I didn't think that Stu Grayson was going to be the one taking the pin. Meltzer driver from the Young Bucks. And then afterwards, Matt Jackson grabbed the mic. He said, there's a tag team battle royal next week to determine our opponents for AEW Revolution. And we're in the match. If we win, we get to pick our opponents. And as he turns his head and looks at the Good Brothers, you never know who we might pick. So it looks like that could be our match for Revolution. Makes sense. That was supposed to be like the first big tag team program in AEW, but the Good Brothers then re-signed with WWE. So long time coming, but it sounds like that's what we're headed towards.
I'd love to see it be title for title.
Yeah. And then you have more belt collectors. But probably the Good Brothers would win, so you have that whole belt collecting faction. But yeah. So AEW also, a little news item here. That was the whole show, but they also during the show announced that as part of the World Title Eliminator Tournament on the women's side, they are putting Serena Deeb and Riho against each other in a first round match, and it's on the U.S. side of the bracket. They said so. I don't know what that means because Rio's not. Rio would be easy to put on the Japanese side, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. But
maybe they're doing America versus Japan in the first round, all 16 or all 8 matches. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah, it could be that they're doing that. And then so that was the big announcement that they made for the tournament. That's still upcoming. They don't have dates on that. I imagine there's a lot of logistics that are need to be worked out with travel and quarantine and all that junk, and then positive and negative testing. But next week on Dynamite, we have that tag team battle royal we talked about. We have the wedding of Penelope and Kip. Mira will be there. Charles Taylor will be there. We have Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker. And then we have Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers versus Jon Moxley, Rey Fenix, and Pac. That should be a really great match. I mean, I think that should own the night, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one, definitely.
Although on the NXT side of the house, we have Lucha House Party versus Legado del Fantasma. And if that match is given the time and the attention that it needs, that match could be off the charts as well.
Yeah, that's probably going to be the show opener.
Yeah. We also have Undisputed Era versus Ciampa and Thatcher, which we talked about earlier. That match could be brutal. You have 4 really, really good workers in there. So for that to be good. And then we have the Santos Escobar and Kurt Stallion match that we thought we were going to get this week. That's going to be next week with Karrion Kross in the background. So who knows?
Yeah, it's a pretty stacked show just with those 3 matches.
Next Wednesday is going to be a fun night.
Yeah. I hope TNT comes through on my Hulu this time.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
You said you watched on the TNT app. Do you subscribe to that, or is that just like a free service?
So if you have cable and you have TNT in your cable package, you can sign in and use it.
Gotcha.
Same thing with
US
USA
Network. Work with my Hulu login, though, I'm sure.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I would look into it, but I doubt it. All right, John, anything else in the NXT Dynamite range before we move into our new segment here?
No, not right now.
All right. Al says Casey's going to steal next Wednesday when she pins Raquel. I didn't actually see the match announced. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was announced. But if Casey pins Raquel Gonzalez, that is going to be something to celebrate.
Yeah, I don't know if I see that happen. I think Dakota Kai takes the fall, if anything, if they lose.
You know, with that new finisher that Casey does, the fact that anybody gets up and walks away from it, whether it be her or the opponent, is kind of impressive. So.
Yeah, it looks like she's going to get whiplash when she does it.
Right. All right, so here we go with our new segment. Calling it hashtag Florida Wrestling. It's basically our new segment, but I have all Florida segments today. Three things I want to mention. Ignite Wrestling, they had their 5th anniversary show that I went to last weekend. I talked about that on the show Monday with Al. They punched out 3 videos on their YouTube last night, so you can go watch the show. If you go to Ignite Wrestling channel on YouTube, you'll find a playlist for the 5th anniversary show. It has all 3 episodes, about an hour and a half worth of content. So, but they've broken it into 3 different groups, so you can go watch one today, watch one tomorrow, watch one the next day. It's all there. It's all free for you on YouTube. And then on the Coastal Championship Wrestling, they released episode 1.19 of the Alive series on YouTube. The South American Alliance wrestled 2 matches. And you can go to Coastal Championship Wrestling on YouTube, look for episode 119. Nelio Cuomo Costa from CCW was on this show recently. He'll be back on the show on Monday. And Cha-Cha Charlie, who was also on this show, he'll be facing Ariel Levy in an upcoming event called Bash at the Brew down here in Florida. Ariel Levy recently wrestled on Dark. So there's your CCW update. And then Tony T broke news yesterday on Nawab's Facebook channel. They announced their TV tapings. They're going to be taking place in Ocala, Florida on April 17th, May 22nd, and June 26th at the Boys and Girls Club. So we get more North American Wrestling Alliance down here in Florida. So we'll be looking forward to getting out to those shows. And that is Florida Wrestling for the day. So John,
well, by the way, I got a word of advice for you. Oh. If you're gonna dilly dally with your trash, don't do it before a podcast because the trash man just drove by and now I'm stuck with trash in my house for the next 4 days. So when it's trash day, do it the night before, guys.
That is something that we can all learn from. There's your pro tip for John Smith from John Smith today. That was his word of advice.
That wasn't even the planned word of advice. It's just it's happening live as we speak. I could have just ran out right now and thrown it out on the curb, but I figured I'd be a professional about it.
And you are absolutely critical for this next segment, because the next segment is trivia. I told you at the top of the show, 2017 Royal Rumble. We'll see how you do. All right. So first things first. Who won the Royal Rumble in 2017? Was it A, Shinsuke Nakamura, B, Randy Orton, C, Triple H, or D, Seth Rollins?
Pretty sure that one, Randy Orton.
It is Randy Orton. Randy Orton. So you're 1 for 1. And after winning the Royal Rumble, who did Randy Orton challenge for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania? Was it A, Bray Wyatt, B, Roman Reigns, C, Seth Rollins, or D, Daniel Bryan?
Bray Wyatt.
It was Bray Wyatt.
That was when they had their little alliance.
That's right. You're 2 for 2. Who did Randy last eliminate to win the Royal Rumble in 2017? Was it A, Roman Reigns, B, Bray Wyatt, C, Chris Jericho, or D, The Undertaker?
Oh. Roman Reigns.
It was Roman Reigns. 3 for 3.
It was either him or The Undertaker. I forgot which one.
Well, that was your final 4 right there. And then who had the most eliminations in the Royal Rumble in 2017? Was it A, Braun Strowman with 7, B, The Undertaker with 4, C, Rusev with 6, or D, Randy Orton with 6?
Strowman.
It was Braun Strowman. I can see that was a lot of calculating going on. The Undertaker did have 4. Rusev did not have 6. Randy Orton did not have 6. It was basically Braun with 7, Undertaker with 4, and then a lot of 2s and 3s. A lot of 3s, actually.
Gotcha.
Okay, so you're 4 for 4. You have a potential to hit the perfect flex today. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I got to catch up to John DeConnie and Al.
So let's just let's take a look here. Okay, John went. I guess I didn't update this. John went 4 for 5 yesterday. Yes, 4 for 5. So he's 18 for 20. I don't think you can catch him.
Damn. Just keep giving me more questions until I catch him.
Your question here: who defeated AJ Styles for the WWE Championship on this card? Was it A, Kevin Owens, B, Roman Reigns, C, John Cena, or D, The Big Show?
That was John Cena. That was one of the best matches ever. And it's hard to say that with John Cena involved, but it was one of the best matches ever.
Perfect.
There you have it. John Smith, everyone. Perfect, hitting the perfect plex to close out the month. So I'll tally up those scores and we'll celebrate our monthly champion on Tuesday's show. All right.
Yeah, Al still has a shot to get it, right? Or tie John DeConnie, I think. Yeah, if he gets perfect, he can get.
Yeah, we'll see about
maybe get 18 for 20 also.
It'll be tough for me to do Royal Rumble trivia on the Royal Rumble episode, considering Al will have studied the stats thoroughly by the time we get to that episode. But Jericho in a shark cage was 2017.
I forgot about that one.
All right. Well, before we leave, there's things I need to tell you about. Joey Jarzanka, Ian Schreier, and Rob DeLuca are going to be on the Primetime Rundown this Friday, January 22nd. It'll be episode 48, and we are going to take you through the world of sports. Their show kicks off at 6 p.m. on the Eastern Observer. And then also, don't miss us on Saturday as we have our Royal Rumble special on the Essential Wrestling Podcast. It's going to come your way on Saturday, January 30th. Al Carl will be there. John Smith will be there. I will be there. John DeConnie will be there. Tyler Adele, Gary Mahaffey. It'll be tons of insight coming up for the Royal Rumble. Our coverage is going to begin at 3 p.m. on Saturday. Do not miss it. It should be a lot of fun, a ton of fun. We get to reminisce about our favorite Royal Rumble moments. We get to do predictions for this crazy event. We're going to try to call Final Four. We're not going to stick to just the top one, so it should be a blast.
Yeah, looking forward to that one.
And this show, the Daily Wrestling News Show, is going to return on Sunday after the Royal Rumble. We're going to wait about 10 or 15 minutes after Rumble goes off the air, and then we're going to go live wherever you're watching this, and we are going to break it down. It'll be me and Travis, and we'll be talking about who won, what we think, what's next. Did Ronda Rousey come back? Did Becky Lynch come back? Did CM Punk come back? All these questions and more will be answered during the Royal Rumble broadcast, and then we'll talk about them. But congratulations to John Smith, who closes out the month with a perfect plex. John DeConnie even chiming in. I think he knows his championship is pretty secure, so he's feeling good about that.
Yeah, that's your cocky champion right there.
Yeah. Well, in fairness to John DeConnie, he did not do so hot last month. So, John Smith, anything before we get out of here today?
No, I'm gonna go try to chase down the garbage truck after we get off the air.
All right. For John Smith, for the state of Hawaii, for the country of Australia, I'm Ryan Joy. We'll catch you next time. Where's my outro? Here it is.